It's going to be fun, isn't it? Thanks, mate. All right, so I've got to live up to that now, and this is meant to be the fun talk, unlike all my other ones, which are apparently not. I don't know. You judge. But look, it is the fun talk, and I'm going to do the cyber thing, and I didn't realise when I was preparing this that it would be the night before the big thing tomorrow in the US. So it kind of worked out opportune. And when I was planning it, I thought, look, I'll do a cyber thing, and I reckon I'm the right person to do a cyber thing. Not because of my security bits and pieces, but because I come from down here. Now, in case you don't know what we're talking about here, this is Australia, and we're populated by convicts, right? So this is sort of the criminal heritage, if you like. And we got to thank you guys a lot for that. Because you picked the absolute worst people possible and you sent them there. You took them out of there, thank you very much. Original photos of the time are a bit sketchy, I can't with this. And you took your worst people and you put them there. We sent you back Rolf Harris, sorry about him. But so we got this thing where we've got this cyber heritage, we've got this sort of criminal heritage, helps us think a lot about cyber. And we know a lot more about cyber lately because this bloke's been talking a lot about it. And you all laugh, right? And everyone takes the piss out of him because they don't think he really knows much. But he does.
And I know a lot about hacking.
Good, we've established that. So, he knows a lot. He'll tell you how much he knows about everything too, believe it or not. So he knows a lot about hacking, and there's been a lot of hacking lately, and there was a lot of hacking happening around the election. And there was all this sort of DNC leak stuff where Democratic National Convention got hacked and all their data's got leaked everywhere and it was all over the place. And everyone's sort of trying to figure out who it is, like who actually cyber hacked them. And Trump, so he's got these ideas, right? He says, I reckon I know who it could have been.
I mean, it could be Russia, but it could also be China. It could also be lots of other people. It also could be somebody sitting on their bed that weighs 400 pounds, okay?
Because we love stereotypes in this industry, don't we? So Trump's figuring it out. He's going to solve all the problems. And I was having a bit of a think about it, and he's going, all right, it's going to be this bloke, 400 pounds on his bed. He doesn't like certain parts of the world. And as I got thinking about it, I thought, well, he might be talking about this bloke. Now, this is the leader of the Democratic... No, it's not really Democratic. North Korea. And, he's up there, and Trump doesn't particularly like him. And Trump has said a lot of things about North Korea in the past. And a little while back, he had some things to say. And, I was reading about how he thought they were cyber hacking them. And in Australia, there's a word here that we don't use a lot. And I had to Google Norks, and then I got quite distracted for some time. I'm not entirely sure how they were being used to taunt. I can picture it. I can imagine. Incidentally, every single tweet and statement you see from him here, I haven't made up. And I know sometimes it's hard to tell the difference, right? But they're all legit. So anyway, he's gone, all right, it's China, they're messing with us. And everyone's sort of just sitting around watching it all unfold. And I think a lot of us are finding it very amusing as he does this. And many of us are sort of waiting to see where it goes. Now, look, it's fun to take the piss out of Trump, and look, we should, right? I mean, it's the right thing to do. But we forget it's not just him. There's been presidents before him who've had their issues. And think back to W. Remember when everyone took the piss out of W, right? Because he was kind of simple, a little bit stupid. And he was kind of funny, but it's like you look at him next to Trump now and you go, that was so tame back then. But W had stuff to say about the cyber as well.
I'm curious, have you ever Googled anybody? Do you use Google?
Occasionally. And one of the things I've used on the Google is to pull up maps.
Now, the Google is enormously useful for many things. I used the Google to figure out what Norks was, only once. So we've got this bloke, and he obviously had his issues, and I guess we kind of think of W and Trump as being, a little bit silly. But the bloke in the middle has had his issues as well. And we kind of forget that all of them seem to have a pretty bad comprehension on cyber. And Obama said this a little while ago.
Around the country. We do have to make sure that there are computers in a computer age inside classrooms, and that they work, and that there's internets.
You got to have internets. It's like America, one's not enough. You can make it bigger. I like coming here because I can do the American jokes. Now, we're all laughing, and fortunately everything in the UK has been perfectly normal lately. Now, you laugh at that, but that was actually Trump's fault as well. And this is not a fabricated tweet. This is real. I don't quite understand it, but it is real. So, they've got their issues. I guess one thing about Australia is we're happy being pretty self-deprecating as well. And look, we know when we look stupid. We know when our politicians look stupid. And we've got this bloke. Now, this is our Attorney General. And recently, he was trying to explain what metadata is. Because in Australia, we came up with this idea, because of the convict thing. We said, one day, one of you might turn out to be a terrorist, so we're going to save all your metadata. Every piece of metadata that goes through, we're going to save it. And then if later on you become a terrorist, we can look at what you're playing on iTunes or whatever, and I don't know. We're going to save it all. So this guy, Brandis, he's had to explain what metadata is, and he's on the news here, and he has a bit of a shot at it.
What is metadata in your view?
Well, the metadata is, but the metadata is the call is initiated. The web address is part of the metadata.
The website.
The web address.
And this basically went like that for about half an hour. And he obviously had a bit of trouble understanding what I don't know if it's a web address, whatever it is. None of us are sure yet because of this guy. But the thing is that we do need our politicians to understand what cyber is and cyber hacking and all this sort of stuff, because it does happen a lot. And you guys have been on the receiving end of that down here. So you had the TalkTalk incident a little while ago. And TalkTalk got very hacked. They lost a lot of data. And afterwards, they're trying to figure out what happened, right? Like who broke in and stole all our data. And there's this statement that came out, and this is Dido Harding, for those who don't know, CEO of TalkTalk. And they've come out and gone, well, we looked into it, and we reckon it's Russian Islamic cyber jihadis. Now, this is funny, but it's true. This is literally what they came out and said, Russian Islamic cyber jihadis. It's just like, let's just pick the scariest words we can possibly find. Apologies to any Russians, and we'll just chuck them all together and we'll be good. Now, the problem is, of course, that they had to eventually go, all right, well, we got to figure out what's happened and actually do some proper attribution. And they're looking through the servers. They had to go and have a look through all of the computer servers. You've got to check your computer servers when you're doing this sort of thing, so that you can be sure where the hacking was, and they've got to have the examination. So apparently computer servers is a thing, I don't know. So they're going through the computer servers, and eventually they go, okay, we've kind of worked it out, and Dido's out there doing more press conferences and things. And she's trying to convince everyone that, look, it happened, but TalkTalk is very progressive, we're using modern technology, we're moving forward, future, yada, yada. And she's sitting in front of this Windows ME computer. This is in 2015. Which is next to the big CRT TV sitting on the VHS player. and people were doing what you're doing, right? They're laughing, and they're having to sort of go, look, it's really not a big issue, everything's fine, no dramas, Move on. But they did inspect the computer servers enough to discover who the culprit was. And they found him, and he was this bloke here. And this guy has his face obfuscated because it is actually a child. It is not yet legally an adult. But look, we all watch the news. We know what hackers look like, so I think we can unmask him here. So there's this guy, and TalkTalk says, all right, we've looked into this and we reckon the whole thing cost us £42 million. Nice number to choose, £42 million. And they're going, it cost us £42 million. So the penalty that's going to be handed down to this guy is we're going to take your iPhone away. Like, this was the penalty. You cost us £42 million, no more iPhone, and he's not allowed to hack anything for another year because he's on probation. When you're 18, you can start hacking shit again. Until then, no more. So that happened, and that all wrapped up, and that was sort of the talk hack. And then Dido was on TV again last month. You would have seen this. I mean, we saw this in Australia, so you would have seen it here. And she's on TV because someone has figured out they can get into all the routers that they ship everyone. And by the way, telcos ship some really shit routers out to consumers. So they can get into the routers and they can get the Wi-Fi password, and then someone can drive by a house, log into your network. So she had to come out, and they made this statement. They made a tweet. Said, look, there's no risk to any personal data. They got some of their best spokespeople on it as well. Trying to make it very clear. And the actual statement they came out with is that they came out with this one. And what I like about this is that they're basically saying, you really don't have anything important anyway. There's just not a great deal there. Now, what this should be reminding everyone is that cyber is a really big thing, right? Like, it's impacting us everywhere. And Trump knows this as well.
Now the cyber is so big.
So the cyber is very big. Thank you for clarifying that. Cyber is a big thing, and it's sort of permeating every part of our lives, right? So we're seeing it on the TV the whole time. We obviously live with it, particularly us. We're doing the tech things. For those of us with kids, our kids are getting exposed to cyber the whole time too. And they're getting exposed to it very young. And it's interesting to watch how kids respond to the cyber. Because we see little kids like this, right? Now, this kid, he's trying VR for the first time, which is a pretty cool experience. And his dad's obviously put him up to it, so he has a bit of a go.
Wow. Yeah?
Now, there's two things I find amusing about this. Number one is the kid's reaction, and you all found that amusing. The other one is the dad, right? Like, the dad, he's just heard the kid swearing, and he's pissing himself laughing. And for those of us out there that are parents, it's like the first time your kid says fuck, you piss yourself laugh. And if you're yet to have kids, you have this to look forward to, because it's the first time, it's hilarious. After that, my wife started speaking to me. She said, where did you learn that word? Well, crap. So, and it is a true story too. I got the video. So the kids start learning all this stuff. They get exposed to cyber very early. And sometimes they're sort of getting exposed to things that we don't really want them exposed to too young, and it happens very innocently. So we had this kid the other day. He's playing with an Amazon Echo. This is the little one. And he's like, all right, you can ask the Echo to play me some stuff, so we'll give that a go.
Lada, play ticker.
Bobby, can you talk to play wheels?
You want to hear a station for porn detected. Porno ringtone. The hot chick amateur girl calling sexy.
No.
Pussy in the dildo ringtone.
Alexa, stop!
There's a frame like halfway through that where the kid is just going, but what have I done, Dad? Because the parents are just yelling at it, going, stop. And there's kind of a part of you that goes, this technology is so shit. Like, how did it mess that up? But I'm going to play this to you again. I'm going to subtitle it and see if you can figure out what Alexa might have heard. So we'll give this another run.
Lada, play ticker.
Because that's exactly what it sounds like, right? And the poor computer has just done exactly what it's heard. But the thing with it also is that Alexa learns, right? Like, she builds up this profile. She has to hear these things somewhere before. And my guess is that it's not the first time Alexa's had that request. So, yeah, kids get all this exposure. And it's kind of sad in a little way in that it makes things very complex as well, because now kids get exposed to all these things. There's so much cyber in all these different places. It all gets very confusing and it all gets a little bit complicated. And Trump knows this, right? He understands this. He's on top of it.
I think that computers have complicated lives very greatly. The whole age of computer has made it where nobody knows exactly what's going on.
Now, when I watch this, first of all, what he says is funny. But the thing that I couldn't stop watching was the bloke next to him. Now, this is Don King. He's a boxing promoter. He's also a convicted murderer for trampling someone to death, but we'll move past that. He's standing there with this massive grin and a big badge of Trump. And I'm going, why? And I realised it makes sense because suddenly Trump looks normal, right? It's like, the best way to make him look normal is to get someone as batshit crazy as possible and put him next to him. So that is Don King. Don King, he's a fairly normal American bloke. He has self-defense weapons and things like that. I'm sure it's to protect his family. They all have them. But Trump's sort of going, look, this actually makes life very complicated, right? The cyber's making life very complicated. And I think in many ways, sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes it makes life very transparent. And we see this with Alexa again in other ways. So there was a case just recently where someone's had the Amazon Echo in their house and the police have gone, there was some murdering happening in your house. We want to go and pull all your Amazon Echo records because we think that maybe the Amazon heard you doing the murdering. And this, to me, is the transparency, because you can't even murder in your own home while you have... This is not an endorsement, it's just an observation. While you have one of these in there, it's like just not a good idea. So the thing about Echo as well is it's just another one of these devices where we're going, let's just add internet to everything, right? Like the more internet we add to everything, the better it will become. And we saw this one pop up the other day. This is an IoT brush, believe it or not. This is real. This came out at CES only a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure why you add internet to a brush, but it literally got one of the CES Innovation Awards. They were very happy with it. And, you look at this and go, what sort of state of disrepair would your head need to be in to require an IoT hairbrush? It's a mystery, really. But we are getting a lot of IoT stuff. The IoT hairbrush is one of a long line of IoT things. And I was having a think about it, and I was finding all these sort of curious IoT things. There's a really good Twitter account, Internet of Shit, and it is just Internet of Shit stuff over and over and over again, connected things that probably should never be. And I was having a spin through the list, and I thought, what I'll do is I'll compress it, and I'll grab sort of 10 crazy IoT things that are designed for sort of families, and we'll run through it quickly. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you're out there dating, you're hooking up, you want to keep in touch with your partner while you're away. You get this, it's a Kissinger. You both put one on your phone. It's got sensors and motors, so it can feel your lips and it can blow. Anyway, it can do that stuff. That's not what I meant to say. All right, so you hook up and then you move into a house and you get a dog, but you've got to go to work. You don't want to leave the dog alone. It's bored. So you get this, which is a Furbo, which allows you to see your dog and launch dog food at the dog from your office, because apparently we need them. Then you decide that's, dogs are one thing. You want to have kids, but you've got to make sure your swimmers are okay first. So you go and get a Yo sperm tester, which you actually plug into your phone, believe it or not. Not entirely sure why. Anyway, it's an IoT thing. So that's good. You get pregnant and you've got to do pregnancy tests. So, of course, you've got to have an IoT pregnancy test. Now, for those who have not seen these, I've seen them twice. They're very fundamentally basic devices. I'm not sure what you get from adding internet. Anyway, you add internet. Okay, so now you're pregnant and you're going to have a baby, but you want the baby to be as smart as possible, so you're meant to play music to the baby. So there's this, which is a real thing. Google it. One end is connected to the iPhone. Moving on. So, don't mix them up. So, you're having the baby. Of course, when you're having a baby, you need to go to the bathroom the whole time. You get an IoT toilet, which will actually track your movements every single time you go. It has a calendar and it will plot them on there. I don't know why, it just does it. Now remember also, all of this stuff is IoT. It's getting synced back up to the internet, it's hitting services, all that sort of thing. Once you do have the baby and you're breastfeeding, there are IoT breast pumps as well, which connect to your phone. So everything is IoT. You have the baby, there are IoT nappies. This looks really uncomfortable. I don't know why they did it like that. One would imagine it actually has a battery connected to it, too, which might make it interesting. And then, of course, you want to get the kid out of nappies, so you go to potty training, so you get an iPotty, which is a connected potty, because that's where you really want to put your valuable iPad, right? Like right in that vicinity. And then because kids get sick, you go and get a Kinza smart thermometer, which can take their temperature. You don't put this in their mouth. And that's a real thing, too. Now, all of these things, they all collect data, they all store it digitally, a lot of them hit services, they all back up to iCloud and God knows where else. They all go up there into the internet and they go out through your internet connection. Which brings me to you guys. So your PM has said, because one of you might one day be a terrorist, we're going to do this, we're going to have a snoopers charter. So we're going to save every piece of data that goes through, certainly every website you're talking to. And they're going to know, has the baby got a temperature? Are we pregnant? Are we possibly being pregnant? Am I throwing dog food at the dog? You're going to know all that. However, don't worry, because they're going to look after your data really, really good. And this is what they're saying, we're going to put all of your data on our computer servers and it's going to be safe because we're going to be very careful with it. Our computers are safe. Which brings us back to Trump again, because he has something to say on that.
Because I'll tell you what, no computer is safe. I don't care what they say. No computer is safe.
And the alarming bit about this is he's actually making sense, right? Because this is what we're all concerned about. Like, you put your data somewhere, once it's digital, it's fluid, it'll move around, it'll get cyber hacked and it will end up somewhere else. Now, the last thing you want to do is end on a slide with Trump making sense. So one of the things that we've learned out of this is that obviously kids are getting very good at the cyber hacking. We are seeing that happen quite a bit. Saw the Talk kid. A bunch of other kids are getting into trouble too. And Trump does have a view on how effective kids are at the cyber. So he had this to say recently.
I have a son. He's 10 years old. He has computers. He is so good with these computers. It's unbelievable.
Now, the thing is, Trump's son he's basically just like any other normal kid who rides around in his gold line in his penthouse apartment, playing with his stretch limousines while daddy sits on a gold throne with his supermodel wife. And this is what we've got to worry about. This is the future. So unless we stop these kids now, this is the future we've got to look forward to. And on that note, let's make cyber great again. Thank you very much.